The 28th of September, Rabbi Levitt, Nehemia.
Okay. Sefer Nehemia. Okay. We are up to Pasik Zion. Pasik Zion and Perik Tess. Call upon Mayor to start the reading.
We say this in the morning too, I think. We're
Yeah,
close.
these right.
Okay. Okay, let's start. It says, Zion, Ata hu Hashem ha'elokim, asher bacharta v'Avram v'hotzeto me'or kasdim v'samta shemo Avraham. Okay, so it says that you are Hashem, are the God. You selected Avram and brought him out of Ur of the Chaldees and changed his name to Abraham.
Right.
Okay, so let's see what it has to say. Chaldees, wow. Okay, let's see. 7. Asher b'charta b'Avram. You selected Avram. The Talmud in Brachot asserts that this passage was stated by one of the prophets, specifies that the Levites, who are not counted among Israel's 48 prophets, recited this prayer. Evidently, one of the prophets composed the prayer for them. It's not telling us which prophet, though. Let's see. Malbim explains this verse as an elaboration of the statement, let them bless your glorious name, which refers to God's glory emanating from the universe. Our verse adds that God's glory emanates also from his miraculous protection of the righteous. This miraculous providence was first directed toward Avram, whom God chose as the first recipient of the providential care that supersedes the laws of nature. Votzeto meor kasdim, and he brought him out of Ur of the Chaldees. Ur of the Chaldees was a city of Abraham's youth. The name, which means the inferno of Kasdim, reflects the flaming kiln into which Abraham was thrown by Nimrod, Mitzudot, for destroying his father's idols, Rashi. God's miraculous rescue of Avram from the flames marked the beginning of the designation of Avram as the recipient of God's miraculous providence, the Malbim. V'samta Shemo Avraham. And he changed his name to Abraham. We find in Bereshit. Relates that God told Abraham that his name would be changed to Avraham, for he would be the father of the multitude of nations. The Talmud, Brachot 13a, explains that the original name Avram was derived from the two words Av, Aram, father of Aram. Avram was the father or leader of Aram, the country of his birth. Later, he was named Abraham, which is derived from the words Av Hamon, father of the multitudes. This refers to Abraham's statue as the father of the multitude of nations, i.e., the Jewish people consisting of 12 tribes, each of which is considered a nation.
Oh,
The Mahashah. Wow. That I didn't know.
yeah, I
Okay.
thought it was meant not only Klal Yisrael.
Mm. Okay. Let's see. The Talmud in the Dharam points out that the name Avram is numerically equivalent to 243, while Avraham equals 248. At first, Avram was master over 243 of the 248 organs of his body. He had not yet mastered his two eyes, his two ears, and his reproductive organ. With the change to the name Avraham, when he was circumcised, he was made master of all 248 organs. Ron explains that all of Abraham's senses, as well as the limbs of his body, were placed completely under his control. His senses of sight, hearing, and touch could be activated or deactivated at will. Thus, Abraham functioned only for mitzvot. In relating the story of Abraham's binding of Isaac and his preparation to slaughter him, Akedat Yitzchak describes Abraham's grasping of the slaughtering knife. And Abraham stretched out his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. Why is Abraham's grasping of the knife described as stretching out his hand? It was God's will that Abraham indicate his readiness to sacrifice Isaac by placing him on the altar. However, it was not the will of God that Abraham actually perform the slaughter. See Rashi, okay, and Bereshit. Thus, Abraham's hand, conditioned to operate only for a mitzvah, would not move. It took an extraordinary exertion of will on Abraham's part to force the unwilling hand into action. He stretched out his hand, literally forcing it into action. The Talmud in Brachot adds that anyone calling Abraham by his earlier name, Avram, transgresses the positive commandment, your name shall be Abraham, or the negative commandment, your name shall no longer be Avram. Wow. Despite this prohibition, our passage describes Avraham with the original name Avram because its purpose is to recount the praises of God, who chose him when he was still Avram and designated his name to Abraham. Rashi. Pri Chadash maintains that the transgression of the rabbinic origin, the biblical passage cited by the Talmud is not the actual source for the prohibition, but is merely an allusion, a smakta, upon which the rabbis based their opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Okay, Pasuk Ches. Lou, would you like to continue?
Umatzasa es levavo ne'eman lefanecha v'charos imo habris lases es eretz hakinani hachisi ha'emori v'haprizi v'hayevusi v'hanirgasi lases lizaro vatakem es divarecha ki tzadik atah. You found his heart faithful before you, and you sealed the covenant with him to give him the land of the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Amorite, and the Perizzite, and the Jebusite, and the Girgasite, to give it to his offspring. And you affirmed your word, for you are righteous. So the commentary says, you found his heart faithful before you. This refers to the 10 tests that Abraham withstood, attesting to his faithful heart. See Malbim, on Avos. The word Ne'eman also alludes to the concept of constant or unchanging. See Ramban, Shemos. Abraham's heart was unchanging in his absolute devotion to Hashem. Yalkut explains the significance of God's finding Abraham's heart faithful by comparing the matter to a king who lost one of the crown jewels. His entire court began sweeping the area. The first attempts failed to locate the jewel, but finally, after much searching, it was found. Similarly, the Torah lists the descendants of Noah until Abraham. See Bereshis. It was necessary to list these names to teach that God searched in every generation for a devoted heart until he found it in Abraham. Okay, let's see. This continues. Wow, it goes. Oh, I see here. There's the end. Okay. And you sealed the covenant with him. It's only the covenant concerning the Holy Land. It's the phrase covenant with him as an allusion to the covenant of circumcision. Because of his advanced age, 99 years, see Bereshis, Abraham was unable to perform the circumcision on himself. God then aided Abraham, and together they performed the circumcision. Thus, God literally made the covenant with him. See Rashi to Bereshis. The allusion to the bris milah covenant of circumcision is appropriate here, since this verse follows the change to the name Abraham. This change was made when Hashem commanded Abraham to circumcise himself in Bereshis. Ramban explains that Abraham's elevation through the circumcision covenant made him worthy of fathering Yitzchak, and through him the Jewish nation. Since the name Avraham signifies Av Hamon, father of multitudes, or the father of the Jewish people, it follows that the new name was based on the circumcision. To give the land, this refers to Bris Bein Habitarim, covenant between the parts, in Bereshis. When Hashem promised to give Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, to Abraham's descendants, see Ralbog, it was customary for the parties establishing a covenant to bisect an animal and walk between its sections to signify that, like the sections of the animal, the two parties now became parts of a whole, according to Rashi on Bereshis. Malbim explains that Eretz Yisrael is the place where Hashem provides miraculous providential aid to the Jewish people. Thus, the covenant promising Abraham's descendant the Holy Land follows Hashem's miraculous rescue of Abraham from Ur of the Chaldees. The Canaanite, the Hittite, the Amorite, and the Perizzite, and the Jebusite, and the Girgashite. This verse lists only 6 of the 10 pagan nations mentioned in God's promise to Abraham. The others are Kenite, the Kenizzite, the Kadmonite, and the Rephaim, see Bereshis. Because only their land was given to the Jewish people who followed Yehoshua into the Holy Land. The land of the other 4 will be given to the Jews only during the final redemption, with the coming of Mashiach, according to Ralbag, see Rashi to Bereshis. In addition to the 6 nations recorded here and in Bereshis, a 7th people, the Hivite, is mentioned in the Torah, Devarim. Perhaps the names Rephaim and Hivite can be used interchangeably. Bereshis, to give it to his offspring. The text repeats the words to give, reading literally, you made a covenant to give the land of the Canaanite, the Hittite, etc., and the Girgashite to give to his descendants. The repetition is necessary because of the lengthy list of names inserted after the first word, to give. Words are repeated to clarify that the verse means to give to his descendants, according to Mitsudos. Malbim interprets the repetition as 2 distinct references. It was given to Abraham in the sense that he had Hashem's guarantee. It was furthermore given to his descendants in the literal sense when they conquered the land, according to Malbim. And you affirmed your word. Hashem carried out his word, that is the covenant, by giving Abraham's children the land and by elevating them spiritually so that they might deserve the land, according to Ralbag. For you are righteous. Hashem was righteous by fulfilling his promise, according to Ralbag. In Malbim's view, he was righteous in ejecting the pagan peoples from the Holy Land and giving it to the Israelites. Itself testifies these people forfeited their right to the land because of their evil actions. Art Scroll Bereshis and Rashi Bereshis.
Wow. Okay. Amazing psukim. Very good. Pasuk Tess. Mayor.
Okay. Let's see. Tet. It says, okay. Vatere et ani avotenu b'Mitzrayim v'etza'akatam et za'akatam shamata al yamsu. Okay, so you observed the affliction of our forefathers in Egypt, and you heard their outcry at the Sea of Reeds. V'tikra et ani avotenu. You observe the affliction of our forefathers. This verse alludes to Exodus chapter 3, verse 7, where God appeared to Moshe and said to him, I have indeed seen the affliction of my people that is in Egypt. This affliction in Egypt is related to the promise that Abraham's descendants would be given the land of Israel, since God stipulated in the covenant between the parts that Abraham's children would endure the Egyptian bondage before inheriting the land. The Egyptian bondage was necessary preparation for the entrance into Eretz Yisrael. Egypt was the crucible that shaped the nation worthy of God's miraculous providential care. Yetzakatam Shamati Ayam Suf. And you heard their outcry at the Sea of Reeds. This references to the biblical passage. Pharaoh approached the children of Israel, raised their eyes, and behold, Egypt was journeying after them, and they were very frightened. The children of Israel cried out to Hashem. Okay. When the Jewish people were trapped with the Sea of Reeds before them and Pharaoh's army in pursuit, God heard their cries and provided his special providence to rescue them. Although the Israelites were not worthy of being rescued, God heard their cries because he had promised their forefathers that he would redeem them. Ralbag. Rashi in Exodus 14:10 comments that the people at this moment followed a trait that they learned from their forefathers, crying out in prayer. Thus, it was appropriate that they were saved through the merit of their forefathers by adopting the saintly activity of the patriarchs. They proved themselves worthy of benefiting from God's promise to redeem their descendants.
Okay. Pasuk Yud. Aktalu.
Vatitain osos umofsim befar o uvechol avadav uvechol so he hezidu alehem vat lecha shem kayom hazeh. Let's see. You impose signs and wonders upon Paro and upon all his servants and upon all the people of his land. For you knew that they had sinned willfully against them, and you brought yourself renown as clear as this very day. So you impose signs and wonders. This refers to the biblical passage, Hashem took us out of Egypt with signs and with wonders in Devarim. Ramban in Devarim explains the meaning of signs and wonders. The os, sign, refers to an occurrence foretold through prophecy. The word os is derived from atah, approached, which is also referenced in Devarim. And according to Ramban, indicating that it was predicted that the occurrence would come. In Egypt, the punishment of arov, the mixture of wild animals would attack the Egyptians was predicted beforehand. And when Hashem said, Machar yiyeh ha'os hazeh, tomorrow this sign will come about in Shmos, the Mofet, the wonder, refers to the occurrence openly transcending the laws of nature, although not necessarily foretold in advance. The word Mofet is a shortened form of mufles, marvelous or wonderful. The wonders in Egypt were Hashem's miraculous deeds, performed without previous predictions, such as the changing of Moshe's staff into a snake before Paro. This was described by Hashem as Mofet. Our verse, which describes the omens and wonders in the land of Egypt, corresponds to the previous statement. You observed the suffering of our forefathers in Egypt. The following verse, which portrays the splitting of the Sea of Reeds, corresponds with the statement, and you heard their outcry at the Sea of Reeds, according to Malbim. For you knew that they had sinned willfully against them. No injustice was done when the Egyptians were punished. For you knew that they had sinned willfully against them. Paro and the Egyptians had persecuted the Jews dreadfully. They intended finally to destroy them completely, as Paro commanded, every Jewish son that will be born into the river you shall throw him. Thus the Egyptians clearly deserved God's punishment. Similarly, Hashem was justified in hardening Paro's heart and denying him the choice to free the Jews. He punished Paro for his evil wickedness against the Israelites before, when he was free to choose between good and evil. The hardening of the heart was done later to permit God to reveal his wonders to the Jewish people so that they might be aware of his greatness, according to Ralbag. Ramban to Bereshis 2 interprets our phrase as a justification of Hashem's punishment against the entire Egyptian people. Why were they punished? Ramban asks. When Hashem had already said to Abraham, your offspring shall be aliens in a land not their own, and they will serve them and they will oppress them. Were the Egyptians not performing a mitzvah by fulfilling Hashem's will that the Jews be enslaved? Ramban answers that the Egyptians oppressed the Jews far in excess of God's statement to Abraham. Excuse me. Hashem had said only that Abraham's children would serve them and be oppressed, but the Egyptians tried to limit the Jewish population, embittered their lives with hard labor, and cast their sons in the river. See Shmos. It was for these excesses that the Egyptians were punished. Furthermore, the excessive persecution inflicted by the Egyptians indicated that their intentions generally were not to fulfill Hashem's will, but were hateful and destructive. Thus, they were punished not only for the excessive oppression over and above Hashem's statement to Abraham, but for all of their persecution of the Jews. Although Hashem had willed some persecution, the Egyptians were judged by their hateful intent and were punished as if there had been no heavenly decree of enslavement. See Chaval, notes to Ramban, and Kedushas Halevi. and you brought yourself renown. Through the signs and wonders mentioned at the beginning of the verse, you brought yourself renown, according to Ralbag. The signs and wonders in Egypt were intended to make Hashem's name renowned, as the Torah says in Shemos, I have made his, Paro's heart, and the heart of his servants stubborn, so that I can put these signs of mine in the midst, so that you may relate in the ears of your son and your son's son, that I made a mockery of Egypt, and by signs that I placed among them, that you may know that I am Hashem, according to Malbi. This is realized each year on the night of Pesach, when every Jew is commanded to relate to his children the story of the Exodus from Egypt. See Rambam, Chametz Umatzah. As this very day, your fame spread then and became as great as it is now, when everyone recognizes you, according to Mitsudos. Okay, that's it for 10.
That's it. Okay. Wow, these are very big psukim. Also, that's it. Okay, Ashikoyach, everyone. A great day to Mayor. A great week.
So much. A good week.
Zrat Hashem.
Okay, Rabbi.
Okay, so we'll be back.
Okay, and I worked out with Rabbi first that we'll have the full schedule until the 5th of October, which is 2 days before Sukkot. And then we'll go to Bein Hazmanim schedule. In other words, the Friday schedule. Does that sound good to you?
After Yom Kippur, I think I've got to get my sukkah together and my Daled Minim.
Okay.
Oh.
So that would be
I don't know. We'll see.
Yom Kippur is the 7th. It's the 2nd of October. So the next day is Friday. That's a short schedule anyway.
Yeah.
So do you want to learn one hour on Friday and one on Sunday and one on Monday, or you want to skip it?
Sukkot is
Sukkot is the 7th. It's Monday night, Tuesday.
Monday night. Sukkot is already Monday night. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do a share on those days.
Okay. All right. So Friday, the 3rd of October. Will that be the first day that you'll stop?
It's this Friday.
It's that's this Friday. Yeah,
This coming Friday, yes.
correct.
Yeah.
No class on Friday.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
No
So
class
yeah,
on Friday. No
Friday,
class
Sunday, and Monday is off. Yeah.
and Monday. Okay. All right. And then as of the 8th of October, which is Chol HaMoed, we'll do the Friday schedule.
Okay. We'll try to do that.
All right.
We'll
Very
try to
good.
do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay.
See you soon.
Okay.
Okay. Have a good day.
All the best, Mayor.
Okay.
You too, Mayor.
Okay. Take care, Lou.